I'm
Alex,
interested. Oh, what were you saying?
Alex has the, what do they say, the face for radio and the voice for TV. Is that how it goes?
No, it's a face for radio and a voice for newspaper.
There you go. That's funny. My dad used to do all of the commercials for the dealerships, over the last couple of years. Well, the one he owned, and then a couple down in Florida. And that's one of the things he said. You got a face for radio, don't you? He's got one of those deep voices. Like Jeff Glacken's voice is super deep.
What type of dealership did you drive in?
Toyota, actually, out near the Outer Banks, Elizabeth City, right before. Like if you're coming south, it's the first town right before, right after you get out of Virginia, and then it's on the way out to the Outer Banks from Virginia.
Oh, that's funny, Erica. We were competitors.
Yeah.
Yep.
This checkered flag Toyota, we would definitely compete with Elizabeth City. And
it's funny. They were like, no, you guys don't compete. And it's like, well, yeah, they do. They're right across. Well, you're SCT and we're not. It's like, no, but you still compete.
Yeah, the customers don't know there's a Mid-Atlantic and an SCT.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
I was at Mile 1. We had the Honda dealership down in Elizabeth City.
Oh, yeah. They recently, within the last couple of years, they redid that store and moved it out towards what's Halstead Boulevard, out towards like the new Walmart. Well, new. It's a couple of years ago. Everything feels new.
Yeah, really.
Is there ever a new Walmart? I thought they were there all the time, and then they built the people around
it. The old new Walmart. All right, I'm going to get rid of that.
What was the name of your dad's store?
Toyota of Elizabeth City.
Okay.
So they moved.
And he sold it?
Yeah, they sold it. They ended up moving down to Hilton Head, and he worked in dealerships here and there for over like the next couple, it was like 2 or 3 years. And then they wanted to do something outside of automotive. And so they ended up buying a granite marble countertop store. So they do all the granite marble for pretty much everything out in Hilton Head. So they've been super busy over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I bet.
Especially
if they can get their hands on it.
Mm-hmm. Everybody spent a year hanging out at home and realized they hate their kitchen.
Or they spilt their wine on their other countertops. All right, here we go. All right, hello, everybody.
Well, I guess, Erika, you get deals on Toyotas and granite tops.
Yep. Actually, last year, right as like Rona was hitting the United States, we started a kitchen remodel. So we were like, oh yeah, we're not going to go eat out that much. We're going to save some money. We're going to be good. And then we went on lockdown and we went, crap, this really sucks. We can't go out to eat. We can't do our kitchens in our living room. So it definitely made it a lot easier to focus on the kitchen because you couldn't do anything else. So
we've been talking about doing some light remodeling to the kitchen. Just got some quotes the other day, and I don't think we're going to be talking about it much more.
Especially right now.
Yeah. It's
all right. What was it? It goes. It was supposed to be a marketplace post, and it was a piece of just like fiberboard or like 2x4s, and it was like, brand new, never been used, asking for a trade of a good car, clean title, I know what I have, don't need to bargain. It was just like the people that are like, we'll trade. And it's like, oh gosh, that's,
I've seen a couple of those posts.
Yeah, we got Ryan Montville starting the dad jokes off. He's pretty good at those. So,
there you go.
We're all here today with Erika. And Erika, this is your third Refresh Friday?
4, I think. 4?
Okay.
Yeah. Over the last couple of years.
I still haven't made the rule up. Is it gold jacket time on the 5th or the 3rd?
Yeah, it's the 5th.
Should be blue jackets for us, though.
There you go.
But yeah, so Erika works with us directly through Dealer Authority, and Dealer Authority sponsors Facebook for Dealer Refresh. And we get to talk quite often. And she was sharing some recent insights from digging around, and like, oh, we need to get that on a Refresh Friday soon. So here we are, and here she is.
Hey guys. So yeah, it kind of came up in topics of just general advertising, I think, what for dealerships and just in general of what we're seeing over, well, really the last 3 years with cost per click going up, keyword rankings. And I was just pulling some rough numbers this morning, just to kind of share with some people what we've been seeing. But the trends have definitely been hard to nail down, to try to predict, let's say, over the last couple of years. A year ago we were starting, I'm trying to remember, we were starting to come out of complete lockdown.
The dealers were coming off the non-essential category a year ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, if we would have talked, last year this time, it was very unpredictable. You just didn't know if people were actually going to be purchasing and, looking into buying anything at that point. But then it was like, well, if we can't be indoors, we might as well be outdoors. So let's buy something that, can tow the new boat or tow the new camper, or, we can take road trips to the beach house. So, you saw a lot of different transitions into purchasing, and people were, of course, sitting at home, so they had a little bit more time. And we saw Facebook traffic go through the roof, PPC traffic go through the roof. So, a lot of dealers, if you're looking at your metrics a year ago, organic traffic was just crazy.
Probably a lot of truck searches.
Trucks, large SUVs. Yeah, that was the number one. So it was interesting because when I looked at 2019, the average, what we saw just for Dealer Authority doing PPC for our clients, was an average cost per click of about $3 to $4. Just total, not just breaking it out, new use, anything, just an average of about $3 to $4. 2020 came around and we're seeing an average of $2.17. Again, we haven't had too much change in our customer base over the last year. We actually did pretty well. A lot of our customers, stuck with us and had a really great year last year and going into this year. So again, everything stayed pretty consistent. So these numbers are pretty accurate. And 2021, coming off from January to April, just over the last couple of months, $1.87 is what we're seeing with cost per click.
So
why is it going down?
I would have thought the other way, because of all the ad dollars that hit digital marketing from companies that would normally be advertising in sports and all sorts of things like that, and having to go to these other channels now.
Well, so plus dealerships just reallocating their budget away from, more the traditional side and placing that into more digital marketing. Of course, driving the prices up on keywords.
The interesting thing is the only thing that hasn't decreased is the impressions. Impressions for a lot of the dealerships that we've seen, on an average, just continue to increase. I mean, everything's staying pretty consistent. Campaigns staying, pretty consistent throughout the last couple of months in the last year. We're seeing nearly quadruple the amount of impressions. So the market is hot. People are looking, people are searching. So with trying to predict, we're coming into an area right now where we're seeing a huge demand, but the supply is increasingly dropping. We're hopefully going to be seeing, some vehicles, and I think, Alex, we talked about this last week, and you actually posted about it on Dealer Refresh the other day, about what the supply is going to look like, because we're probably not going to be seeing a lot of trucks or large SUVs. And then you just said it right before we hopped on. What did your Chevy dealers send?
Oh, yeah, we had so to back up what you're saying a little bit, there is an article on Dealer Refresh right now. I think it's the first one if you go to the homepage, and it talks about a glut of cars. And basically, in a nutshell, it occurred to me a little while back, and I've been formulating this and airing this amongst other dealers just to see if what I was thinking was right, and I got no pushback on it, but I could be wrong. But the my thought was that the OEMs, like any business, have numbers to hit, and they're going to do what it takes to get there. So even though they can't produce the high-end demand pickup trucks, for example, if you're Ford or GM, you can still produce other things, and they might not be the most popular thing at the time, but they'll still crank them out. And yesterday, it was kind of funny. After putting that article up, one of our dealers reached out and said, "Hey, we finally got a truck." It was a Chevy store, and it was Equinoxes, and they were all the same trim, they were all the same wheels, and they were all the same color, and they were excited. But I just put that article up, like, huh, interesting.
Were they asking over sticker form?
I don't know. They were just excited to get the truck in, but maybe the second truck will also be blue Equinoxes with the same wheels and same trim. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting over the next couple of months of what actually is going to be released. And, what we're seeing right now is like a lot of our Chevy dealers are backing off of, I would say 0 Silverados, but we have 50 Tracks and 50 Equinoxes. So, and that comes to the point, a lot of my Chevy dealers, that's their bread and butter is the Silverado, and not being able to sell or not having it in stock. Where do we, do we continue to push that line as far as PPC, or do we back off and start allocating budget towards other models that you do have in stock? We have a Toyota dealer. We've had to do a couple different changes when it came to the inventory because they've not really had a whole lot coming in over the last 3 to 4 months. So they had 24 Priuses in stock, and that was the largest amount of any inventory they had. They had like maybe one RAV4 here, 2 there, but really everything else was in the single digits. So it's like, well, why not try to focus, maybe do even a wider radius than what we normally would do, and see if we can just move these Priuses out. And the campaigns did really well, again, trying to maybe do an additional 10, 15 miles outside of what you would normally do, just so you can say, hey, we've got this whole area we can cover, and try to push these Priuses out the door because, not going to move themselves.
Well, and of course, the other Toyota dealerships are in the same boat. So, the customer might be a little bit more willing to travel a little bit extra distance to just see some vehicles on the lot. I mean, sitting here right now, I can see our full lot for our Toyota dealership, and it's bare. I'm glad I got my truck when I did.
Well, Cars.com, and kudos to them as one of our sponsors, because they didn't drop this really long blog article post. They actually just came out yesterday and put a little blurb up. It was saying that 51% of shoppers will pay more for what they're after. And there were a couple other things in there, but to your point, like, people will drive further and they'll pay more to get what they want.
And it's interesting. We've talked to a lot of our dealers, and we're saying, well, what's the attitude? What is it? The customers coming in and just completely saying, no, I'm not going to do. And you're going to have that. You're going to have people that, the expectation is, well, if I'm not going to buy it, then I'm not going to search. I'm not going to come in. I'm not going to waste your time and waste mine if I'm not willing to pay the sticker price of it. So the people who are showing up are, of the mindset of, well, I know I'm going to have to buy or spend more, just going to have to bite the bullet.
True. Yeah, we're seeing that here. Yeah,
so
it takes them a little while though. They gotta go out and shop a bit, and then realize that we're not lying.
Right.
So Drew, define equals more. More they'll pay more for something or drive further for something.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
more
personal
miles.
one. We're definitely seeing it all the time. I mean, you've got people who are buying cars for thousands of dollars over sticker right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I hope that people take away from this crazy economy on that topic is that I think people will always pay more and drive further to get what they want, and even get a better experience. So.
Oh yeah.
But.
And it's they were willing to drive more for a better deal. Let's see, people come from all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's easy to forget that when you're in the heat of battle. You know, I'm definitely guilty of selling cars and forgetting that we have what we want. We can hold the gross longer. We don't have to just drop our pants right away.
Mm. Yeah, especially when, you know, you're not going to be getting that same vehicle in for God knows how long.
Or you're the one who has it today, even if the competition can't get it for 3 days. We're going to have to DX for it or something. Hold true.
Well, and one thing we've been trying to work with a lot of our dealers with is trying to be a little bit more strategic versus just, you know, responsive. And it's a little difficult now because we're in the midst of this, you know, issue of not having inventory. So what does that mean over the next couple of months? You know, yes, sell what you have, but then focusing a little bit more on what we talked about with used vehicles. And even used vehicles are hard to get to right now. And those are the keywords we're starting to see creep up with cost per click, as well as service. You know, service is one of those areas where a lot of dealers want to kind of like, no, we'll put some money into service. We'll do some PPC on there. But the hard part with service is that's on average, if we're saying cost per click for a new car is what, $2 to $3. Cost per click for service is anywhere from, you know, $4 to $7 because of how much more competition there is in the marketplace. You're not just competing with other Toyota dealerships, you're competing with every other dealership, every other service department out there. So when it comes to creating a really well-rounded service campaign, you need to invest in the SEO for your service department. You need to have good landing pages. You need to have information on there to compete with everybody else. And service for SEO, you know, for organic can be very lucrative. A lot of people don't understand a lot of the terminology when it comes to service, and they'll do research. Again, you want to try to keep it local. Try not to do a nationwide like service, you know, campaign or service SEO where you're trying to hit everybody in the United States. Do it local. Your local, you know, for your local Raleigh Toyota dealership, providing service and oil changes to the local Raleigh community. Trying to keep it that, because we've had dealers who have done, you know, hey, what's all included in a, you know, 1 year or 5,000 mile, you know, oil change for a RAV4. It's a great topic because a lot of people will search for it, but then you're going to get a lot of people from all over the United States searching for the same exact topic, which is great. You get a lot of traffic, but someone in Oklahoma is not going to come to my service department here in Raleigh. Maybe if they're on vacation.
I usually drive 3
well, there you go.
for an oil change.
Vacationers.
So on the back to the sales SEM side of things for a moment. What other trends are you seeing? You know, are people still heavily searching for pickup trucks, for example, even though they're really hard to find? Or are you seeing some movement away from Silverados and F-150s, for example, maybe to Super Duties or something along those lines?
So it's been interesting over the last, I'd probably say 5 months since we started really feeling the crunch of inventory. It's been, you started out, what we like to try to do is like what we talk about is that low funnel, low hanging fruit keywords. So, you know, the longer tail keywords mean someone's more likely knows specifically what they're looking for. So if I'm looking for a Chevy Silverado, you know, this specific year in this location, I know exactly what I'm looking for. We started to see people kind of getting away from that because they were like, well, I know I can't get this specific one, so maybe I'll just type in Silverado location and see if anybody has one. And then it started to even go further to where it's like, I'm just going to type in Chevy dealer and see what happens, because it started to become the, okay, I can't find it with a good price. Now I just can't find it in general. Let me just see if I can pop up on anybody's radar and see, you know, check back multiple times, see if anybody has anything, which has really opened up to the reservation or, you know, putting on, you know, deposit down on a vehicle that hasn't even arrived or might not arrive for a month. So we're seeing a lot of that happening. Customers coming in and reserving vehicles for, you know, next couple of months. Even of just a baseline.
In relation to trucks and search keyword wise, is there any type of accessories that consumers are searching with? Are they, are they looking for payloads or tow capacity? Do they include anything like that in their searches?
We've seen actually them going a little bit further away from, something that's specific. I've even seen it to where we've seen the evolution. Usually the evolution of search would be, as a good example, someone coming in and typing in, and again, this will be over weeks or months, but, trucks. What kind of truck do I want? What is the towing capacity? What should I be looking for if I'm pulling a boat or a camper? And then they start narrowing down, is it a Tundra that I need to get? Do I want to get a Silverado? Do I need to do a 2500 or can I go smaller than that? So as they learn more about the vehicles, that search term gets longer. And that's where we usually see the low-hanging fruit. But because of inventory being as low as it is, we are seeing some of those specific, but then we're seeing them go in the opposite direction, being less specific and more broad, just to see if they can find anything.
Just had
Makes sense.
Talking about towing there, for some reason my crazy mind went off somewhere else and was reminded of my wife's last car search, and she was always wanting to know, does the car seat fit? And then I started thinking, there could be a cool little video series on YouTube if a crafty dealer was to put it together. You can even have some fun with it. So you do, does it fit? Does it tow? But it got me thinking, then there's that guy who does it blend? And
yes, does it blend? Can we blend it? Or can we melt it? There's another guy that does that. He's like, can we melt it? That one's pretty cool. But yeah, no, that's a good series, especially like I remember they did, what was it, a couple years ago, it showed the Tundra pulling the, NASA, the space shuttle across.
The space shuttle, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
What dealer can get their hands on a space shuttle and see if they can tow that?
Right? Gotta love the publicity of that. But one thing that we have been doing with a lot of our SEO is helping to, because people are kind of jumping from one type of vehicle to another, because we're seeing, people like, oh, maybe I could do a truck, but instead maybe I'll just do a large SUV, or okay, maybe I'll go down a size SUV. What we call hub pages. So landing customers on more of an informational page about each model and their comparison. Like the RAV4 is a little bit smaller than the Highlander, but the Highlander can tow this amount. Now the Venza is also something that can tow X amount or has enough seating space and does have those options. So being able to have people come in and go, well, I know I want a Toyota, or I know I need an SUV that can do X, Y, Z. We've created landing pages to even help facilitate customers figuring that out. So that's helped a lot as well. All about the landing pages, people.
Well, I tell you, I use that feature on Amazon a lot. If I'm searching something in particular, you just scroll about 3/4 of the way down, it'll either, especially if it's the same company, has different products within the same category, they'll be listed out. I always find that handy. So I would almost think that would be a best practice moving forward, no matter what, is to land the customer on those particular type of pages. Oh yeah. And
it's a great mid funnel, what I like to use. Cause if someone hasn't decided, or in that process of, I'm looking at a small sedan vehicle for my kid, should I go for, the super small economy car, but am I worried about them being, smushed into sidewalk pizza? If they're driving back and forth to college, do I want to get them maybe something a little bit bigger? How many people can they fit? All that kind of fun stuff.
How about a little shift in direction here? There's a great comment from Drew. I'll throw it up on the screen. So
there we go.
I hadn't heard that they're visiting 7 to 8 websites now instead of just 2 to 3. That's interesting. Any thoughts on that one, Erika?
I've seen, so one of the things that we look at from an SEO's perspective, and what I try to keep an eye on, especially when we know inventory is low, is your returning versus new customers. So in a month, and I try to do, when you do SEO, you want to look at a little bit longer, like 1 to 3 months, a good chunk of time, because to see SEO trends, it takes a little bit longer. But when you want to look at just a month, you want to see, for organic specifically, how many new visitors are coming back versus how many returning visitors. And then I'll give you a percentage of how many, new versus returning. I like to see it around 50%, because that means people have come back to your website, they've done multiple searches, they're kind of looking at inventory. Do I want that color? In a normal world, which we may never ever get back to again, but fingers crossed. But in a normal world, people would come back to the site multiple times. I'm one of those people who want to look at it, consider it, come back. Do I want that color? Do I want that trim? Let me do a little bit more research about this specific feature of that vehicle, and so a visit 2 to 3 to 4 times to a website is a good thing. So having about 50% of the people come back and doing multiple searches within a month is great. What we're seeing now is people at 70% of their traffic is new users. People have never been to your website. So that starts getting a little concerning when you get to that 70-80%, because then that means people aren't coming back. So are they hitting your website, going to another website, going to another website, going to another website, not coming back because they haven't found what they're looking for, which is where retargeting, if you're not doing any retargeting, you need to be doing retargeting. Hit those people again, return message. We're getting more inventory. We're getting inventory all the time. You can reserve your vehicle.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Fresh inventory.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like if you're seeing, and that's a great KPI to start keeping track of. And I would think, looking at historics, you'd be able to correlate between a full inventory load in your 50% and a lower inventory load and an increasing number of new users hitting the site.
So keep an eye on that. That's what I've been looking at with a lot of my dealers.
Well, it could be, again, that could be really a neat one to look at, because if you can make that correlation, then you can start to say, maybe I do need to keep a certain load of inventory in a certain way, because when inventory comes back to normal, and it will, then you start looking at it that way, and maybe it's an inventory mix that you need to start paying attention to, and this is just another indicator that you've got the right or wrong mix of cars, and so forth and so on. That's got a lot of cascading legs for somebody who really wants to pick it apart. That'd be a good project, Drew. I could see Rick Buffkin playing on that one too.
Figuring it out. Yeah. And it's, and again, time on site, pages per session. When you start to see those start to get out of the normal range, and again, look at your website and go back 2018, 2019, if you have the data, if you have the website, again, this is why analytics, keeping that historical information is really important. We talked about that. Making sure that those, like I just said about conversion rates for organic, you want to keep an eye on any of those goals you've had set up over the last couple of years, because, even with last year being as wackadoodle as it was, you want to make sure you're just keeping within what would I consider as a normal range, especially for organic, because that's the most neutral, not screwable traffic that you can have. With PPC, you can ramp up traffic like crazy, and just by bidding a buttload on your name, a buttload on keywords that may or may not be producing, you have to kind of keep all those metrics in line to say, okay, are we getting a good time on site, returning traffic, pages per session. So don't focus just on how many conversions, but what is everything else spelling out for us.
Then Drew has been a wealth of comments today. He had one earlier. It was along the lines of the number of pay-per-click vendors were pushing other types of searches, especially around service, with the lack of inventory, so they can keep the spends up. What other areas might they be doing that? Obviously, buying the dealership name, but that was only going to take you so far.
Right. So some areas that we've been looking into, again, used cars, and that is a hard one because of how expensive used cars are right now and how expensive the keywords are going to get. Used and service keywords are going to continue to rise over the next couple of months. I'm hoping they don't go, buck wild, but you do have a lot of people who are getting into that summer mode of, hey, we're going to go and do travel and trips. A lot of people are still hesitant to fly, so you're going to have a lot more road trips this year with people. This could be the last fun time that they're going to do that, kids don't have to actually be physically in school and people are working from home. Those cool, like long extended vacations, this is going to be that last big hurrah before next year.
You must not have kids to think that. We just had a year and a half long vacation with those things.
It's interesting because so my parents, we talked about this earlier, they live in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And usually during the winter, it's dead. Everybody's, back home doing, back to school, vacation, vacations are over, Christmas, we're getting ready, we're in the depths of it. Between like August and January, February, the island was packed, more so than you would normally see. I mean, and we saw families. We saw, people who had just stayed for a month, rented a beach house because it was pretty cheap. But the Outer Banks has been packed for the last couple of months. All through the off season was packed. So it's been really interesting because people have been able to travel a little bit more. And, a lot of people from New York have, done extended vacations down here in North Carolina. So, or, even further south.
We went down to New Jersey from Vermont and visited Matthew Haken at Prestige Volvo in August of last year. And the only other people in the hotel room, or in the hotel, not the room, with us were other New Jersey folks who actually lived down the street and just wanted to get out of their house.
Oh, yeah. There were many times last year that we just drove around Raleigh, didn't go anywhere because nothing was open, but we just drove just to get out of the house. I literally hadn't left my house in like 4 or 5 days. It was killing me.
Well, one thing, put this article up yesterday about a glut of inventory, new car inventory in particular, coming soon. There's another side to that coin. You have to ask the question of, is there a significant shift in the used car market about to happen, and how far away is it? And we know it's coming. I mean, obviously we can't keep this kind of used car market going, but when it happens, fear for the dealers who have a whole lot of cars that they've purchased at auction for well over what these cars were selling for brand new. And when this thing shifts, it's going to happen fast.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be stuck holding that bag, and the wholesale loss is going to be pretty painful.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not going to be fast because it's just,
right.
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. We have had a lot of things like the Carvanas and buyers out there who have continued to buy at very, very high margins, and you can't keep it up. There's just, eventually the bottom will drop out, and I'm not trying to be Captain Negative here, but it's the dealers who are able to kind of offload those vehicles the fastest will suffer the least. But it's, at what margin, and, it's the same thing I worry about with the housing market right now. How crazy is this housing market going to continue to be? And from what I've been reading on it, they're saying this is just going to continue to stay high. So yeah. There you go. The child stimulus check payment. Yeah.
I've had a few houses saved in my Zillow search that have jumped up $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
It's insane. If I was a new owner, I would not be buying a house right now.
Well, if you live somewhat near New York City, you should see what the housing market's done. Like it's insane what it's done here. I mean,
Jumped
my
it up.
house has gone up to a number. I'm like, man, if there was another place I could crash on somebody's couch for a while or something, man, this is like a lottery ticket right now.
Yeah, I know. I'd like to capitalize on it because we've been wanting to move, and I'm like, this would be a great time to sell the house, take the money, let's just go rent something for a year or two, see what happens with the market. But shit, there's nowhere to rent.
There's no inventory.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
rent
gonna move
and
back in with my parents.
You can't even go buy a damn truck and go live in the car. Or an RV.
Yeah.
Or an RV. You can, I mean, geez, renting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And that's really going to see how, I haven't checked on this one, but like Enterprise and things like that, they have not been able to really ramp up their rental units because of the shortage of vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting. So the used cars you're normally getting there.
So this is a good question, Rick.
From what I grabbed, the cost of rentals have skyrocketed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick's asking recommendations on items to watch for to try and catch the downturn as early as possible. Well, Equinox is you've got a bunch of used Equinoxes. Now's the time to say sayonara. Traxes, just the stuff that the OEMs can build.
Or is he talking about for the used car market?
Well, I'm assuming he's asking about the used car market. That's where my head was at, so I went there. But maybe Rick's asking about something else. Where did your head go, Erika?
I was just thinking something to keep an eye on is used car searches. If your used car searches start to go down, start being wary. The amount of vehicles being searched or being hit on your website, the minute people stop searching for used cars is the minute it's going to start slowing down on used car inventory. So watch it weekly, watch it monthly, just keep an eye on it because it can go by market. And the new car, the new car inventory. But I mean, I think the trickle through new car is going to be so sporadic over the next couple of months of what you're going to get, when you're going to get, and people, and again, this is trying to predict buying habits, which, is something that is, years of trying to figure out, but you're going to see people possibly wait to buy a new car if they can't get what they are. If they're seeing Equinoxes come out, then they say, well, maybe something else will happen in the next couple of months. Maybe I'll wait to see if I can get that SUV or truck that I'm looking for. So this could be the point where Ford, for instance, just came out with the Ford Lightning, the F-150 Lightning, excuse me. And, they're putting in reservations now to get that. So is that something, again, it's an electric truck. So I don't know, really, is that going to be enough to say, hey, I want to hold off until I get that electric truck. I'm going to wait 6 months. I'm going to wait 4 months, whatever it is before I can get that. Is that going to pull people out of buying today and push them towards the next couple of months? So that's what I'm trying to figure out is when is it people are going to hold off because the expectation is we'll have vehicles in the next couple of months. So hitting things like lease turn-ins, hitting those, we've been doing a lot with that, trying to get people to turn their lease in sooner and getting into another new car. Then you also get that used vehicle there. So that's always a good one. So yeah, there's a lot of different things we can do.
Does it make sense for a dealership such as Ford to start optimizing for the electric Ford truck?
Oh, for SEO? Yeah, we've been doing that for our dealers already.
Well, also, yeah, and that would be any model, I would think, but or any brand new model. But that particular one's interesting. I have an F-350, an older one. It's kind of a hobby truck for me, and so I'm involved in some Super Duty groups, and they hate that thing. So a lot of truck drivers, and they're like, "Man, electric, that's for shit. I need diesel." But it seems to me like the truck buyer isn't necessarily the main, or might not be the main buyer of that thing initially. It could be somebody who hasn't had a truck before and is thinking, "No, man, I can finally have a truck that's clean," and doing air quotes here, but.
Much money on with gas.
And then I do, can we take a step back? Because there is a 20-second delay from what we're saying here to when your comments are coming in. So there's another one from Drew.
Hey, Drew.
Go figure.
And so going back and we were talking about VDP counts on used cars. He's warning here that, if you sell off a number of your used vehicles, especially your hot ones, you could see the drop that way. You don't want to get a false signal there.
True. Yeah. So. Just keeping an eye on it. That's really just me, and mainly just being aware. That's one of the big ones is, not keeping an eye on website performance, things like that, making sure that you're just having eyes on the back of your head, looking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Rick's asking if more new car availability incentives will drive down used car values. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that'll actually be I'll make a prediction here. So if there's going to be a bunch of Equinoxes and they're sitting around for a while, well, yeah, the rebates are going to get pretty hefty on those. So
hopefully, rebates, and everybody out there, those who are dealers, rebates over the last, they haven't had to. You don't have the inventory, you don't need to push the rebates. So I think Honda finally started pulling this past month. Honda pulled back on their 0% on everything, which they had been pushing since January. So they were pushing.
They don't need to do it.
Well, there's another side too. The lenders, especially the ones that are paying attention to the broader market, like Cap One, Ally, U.S. Bank. They look at their portfolio and say, "Wow, we did more Equinoxes." I hate to keep picking on the Equinox, but we did a whole lot of Equinoxes in June of 21. 3 years from now, that's going to get painful when we have to start sending those to auction on lease turn-ins. So they'll start to lower residuals and things on those as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening over the next 6 months where it's going to really, hopefully, change the market for the better, where it gives the dealer a little bit more just inventory in general. I think just being able to sell a vehicle without, really having to worry about replacing it would just be a nice relief. But until this whole chip thing, which they're saying is hopefully going to be alleviated in the next couple of weeks or months, but everybody's trying to pull out that crystal ball and figure out who's actually telling the truth and what's actually going to happen. The Japanese fire that happened at that one facility did not help things at all. So, we're relying on one Taiwanese company to supply the world's amount of chips. So, I think that opens up for a very interesting conversation on, where do we need to start pushing our own manufacturing of these kinds of chips or these kinds of products instead of relying on everything else to go through another country. But hey, that's a bigger problem than I know what to do with.
Yes.
You should probably stay away from that one. Something about globalism comes to mind. But anyway, how about this question? How much impact does including a video in your blog post or web page help for ranking?
Well, and I want to piggyback on top of that. Maybe you can answer them both at the same time. SEO or image SEO still a thing? Does it still make sense using the alt tags? Maybe some other tips around that.
Yes. So best practice SEO wise, yes, include video, include alt text, include the big thing with videos is also to include captions on the video. If you can actually put a description, and again, bringing it from YouTube, having a description or even having the script of what was said in the video, closed caption can really help a lot with that. But yes, the video will help increase your SEO by giving a percentage is a difficult thing, but on all of our landing pages, we include a video. Whenever we do SEO, we include a video on that page, even in most of our blogs. So it does help, and especially because you're also getting that linking from YouTube, so you have cross-linking there. With the alt text, yes, because of Google imaging. So with Google, it helps because it tells them exactly what that image is and what it's of. So a lot of what Google's doing is also archiving a lot of those images so that, it can be shared within the searches themselves. So if it was a picture of the three of us, having all three of our names in there on dealer refresh and even the date would help. So put alt text on all of your images. It's a massive pain and everybody hates doing it, but you should do it. It really sucks. It does. You should definitely do it.
Jerry, over in the forums, he had a question earlier this week, and it's probably relevant to what we're speaking to. Is there any best free, are there any best tools or even free tools out there that a dealership can use to find out the different automotive specific keyword, what's being used out there? Is there any tools out there? Maybe you guys use something at DA.
Specific, okay, so what keywords are being searched for on
Correct,
PPC?
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so in Google Ads, they have tools you can use. A keyword planner is a great one. It can tell you based upon where your location is and what, the area of what you're wanting to target, you can see what the volume of that search keyword has been over the last couple months, over the last year. And then, of course, it also gives you the average cost per click over the last year or however many months you want to look at. So that one's always a good tool to use. It helps you kind of plan out. One thing I would say is when you're going back through your PPC and trying to evaluate, where you need to put budget, where you should maybe add a little bit more into it, or who's even bidding on your keywords or what keywords, is if you have your campaign set up to where you can dive a little bit deeper, so you sub-categorize, you have your campaign, let's say it's for new, and then you have your new Toyota Tacomas, and then you can break down to, the specific keywords going in there. You can go in and use a tool called Auction Insights. And it will show you everybody who has in your area where you're targeting and the keywords you've used, who else is bidding on that, how often they're showing up, how often at the top of the page they're showing up. So you can see who's bidding against you and how often. And that'll help you kind of determine, if it's another dealership, if it's Carvana, if it's Cars.com, how often, not really how much they're bidding, but it'll give you a good estimation of if you're being outbidded and what the percentage is.
You say that's called Keyword Insights?
That one is Auction Insights.
Auction Insights, sorry.
So that'll be in your Google AdWords, and you'll go into you'll go into the campaign, and then you can do it at the campaign level, but that's not going to give you a whole lot of insight. But you can go into the ad sets or the keyword level and see which keywords you're being outbid on. So
excellent. I'll make sure he knows about that.
Yeah, there you go. Dive into that rabbit hole and call me next week.
I used to dive in those rabbit holes. Rather pay someone else to do it now.
I think of those as rat holes now.
Yeah, just the ferret holes of left, right turns and back, forth, and wait, I've spent 3.5 hours digging into this. What did I learn? I don't know.
Well, let's take another step back for Drew again. We need to teach him how to type faster. We'll give him a live feed to this thing. So on localization and video SEO, by the way, shout out to Sean Bradley for inventing video SEO.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So,
the king.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to weight there, Drew, on is the juice worth the squeeze with the video. It's hard for some to create video, but I have seen a number of videos on YouTube from dealers, specifically talking about, the ins and outs of any kind of vehicle. Most recent
I think it depends on the content of the video.
Yeah, but I was looking at the trimmer package on the Super Duties that they've done recently at Ford, and There were some dealers who are really good with it. They do the walk around on the car and talk about the features, and while they're doing that, and say they'll pause for a minute and say, "Yeah, we're here in Tallahassee, and if you're in the market or want to drive down or fly down to see us, we'd be happy to sell you a car." And just something along those lines to try and help people remember that we're not your dealer if you're in California and don't want to come here.
Mm-hmm.
Or do something to work out a transport or whatever it is. But anyway, my take on it, at least.
Yeah, local SEO and just even video, it's time consuming. It takes a lot of effort, but it's a lot of effort that can pay off in the long run. Especially, you got to remember, if you're not just sharing that on YouTube, you're sharing it on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, putting that information out there for people. So just putting it in one place and then putting it on your website, share it out with, the network, everyone.
I just posted a video from Germain. They did a really good job just really walking the customer through why trading your vehicle at the dealership makes more sense than trying to sell it yourself, or how your local dealer can save you time and money over like the internet companies such as Carvana and such. It was it's a really great video. I just posted it over in the forums yesterday, so check it out.
Oh, cool. Question that just popped up. Have we been seeing more from the OEM? Not necessarily more. That's kind of the ever omnipresent bidder out there. So I'm more seeing them on just general Ford keywords, Ford F-150, things like that, Toyota Tacoma, more general like that. What I've seen a lot of dealers who focus on right now are the brand location keywords, what does it say right now?
Oh, well, the interesting one too, Erika, was Anthony's response to Rick there, where he's talking about tier 2 raised their cost per click by 12 to 15%. Without getting into who employs Anthony, I think I can vouch for him in saying that he would know.
Sorry, can you pull that question back up?
Which one? The last one?
Yeah, the last one.
So back on the video side. Yep. Yeah, if you got I don't know, I especially like the Southern accent personality. So if you got one of those on staff and they're fun on camera, they're the best. Rick, I would imagine you have one or two of those.
I would think so.
Yeah, just when you do that, if you have a heavy accent, sometimes Google, they have a really cool tool that will auto caption. Just go back in and make sure it auto captions correctly, because sometimes we've had heavier accents have a tendency to really screw it up. And that's Southern accents. That's, Michigander, Minnesota, those ranges have a tendency to get a little crazy when it does the auto captioning. But it's a great tool.
Fun.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I'm surprised someone doesn't bitch about that.
Oh, they do. It's YouTube, man. You just make a video, somebody's going to bitch. True. It's also the fun of YouTube.
Oh, gotta love
you just have to take it with a grain of salt and laugh at it.
I'm not gonna lie, I did do the subscription thing. I did buy the no commercial. It's kind of worth it. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I've had that for quite a few years when it was YouTube Red.
Yeah, I know. We finally bit the bullet this year. Mostly because I enjoyed watching the crap out of that. I don't know. It's during the height of the pandemic. We were watching the Dave Portnoy One Bite Pizza, the frozen pizza review. Were the best. Oh my God, that was just hilarious. The most entertaining thing to me, at least.
No, it's good. I catch him on his Instagram account.
Yeah,
I don't know why I find those fun to watch, but I do.
Yeah, the reviewing of the frozen pizzas, because we actually did. We tried a few that he recommended.
I didn't see that one. Yeah, I didn't see that one. I'll have to check it out.
That one's, look up Jack's Pizza. That one's probably the best. When he finally gets to try Jack's Pizza, it's I was dying laughing. I was crying.
So it's
I got something to do here this evening.
That sounds like something to do. As we're thinking about the people who fought for our freedom this weekend, and kicking back and having a drink in their honor, and laughing at some boob tubes.
There you go.
YouTubes.
Fun YouTubes.
Awesome. Well, Erika, thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure. I'm sure we'll have you on again pretty soon.
I love hanging out with y'all. Really appreciate having me on. And hopefully I was a help, if you guys got anything out of this, hopefully if you guys, anybody has any questions or how to find, auction insights, or if you have questions about it, I'm here to help and educate.
Yeah, I'll shoot you to that thread so you can jump in and maybe answer Jerry. Probably be better coming from you than me. And
Dealer Authority has their own dedicated forum on Dealer Refresh. So if you ever need to get directly in touch with Erika, that'd be a great place to go. Find her there.
Sure. All right. Well, everyone have a great holiday weekend.
Yeah, safe and happy, fun holiday weekend.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.